Good evening. It is Thursday, March the 28th, about 6:20 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you the latest wind and weather forecast for the CORA's Sheriff's Cup event this Saturday from Charleston to Rockville. And we're going to be talking about the start here in a little bit. It looks like the start's going to be pushed just to offshore G15 to save everybody several hours of grueling time trying to get out of the harbor. It looks like the winds are just going to be very light. In fact, light and variable. Most likely. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. And what I'd like to do is at least come to the CORA website and check down here. If you scroll down the Sheriff's Cup notice, make sure you keep up with the latest information on the race start. Sailing instructions, pursuit times, docking plan, all of it is here, so make sure you stop in and check it. The skipper's info at the top, if you go to offshore wind and weather, you can see the latest forecast. This is the prior one. I'll be replacing that with this video after it uploads to YouTube, and I'll eliminate this and put it in. But either way, let's go ahead and talk about the weather. One of the main causes is a high pressure that is dug in over the southeast region as of tomorrow. It looks like high pressure is just going to be expanding down. The center of it's going to be expanding down with the ridge axis all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, which means winds are very weak here and here on the east and west sides of it. So we have to keep an eye on that for a very light start in the morning. As we get into Saturday morning, push this forward. And we get to Saturday morning. Here we go. And it looks like the ridge just banks off the coastline. And what that means is that gives us a little bit of a southerly flow. Remember, the ridge axis is here. So the winds are going to be going in this direction and then turning up from the south. Now, if we get a little bit of a northeast Gulf of Mexico high, we may end up with a little bit of a southwest flow in the morning, but only a couple of knots. It doesn't look like very much, and the probability is low for that to happen. So it's a good call to go just offshore to start as you motor out to get underway at the race starting line out there. It makes a lot more sense. But that high is not going to build very much. It might give us some modest breezes in the afternoon. In fact, even into Sunday, the breezes still remain modest. And we have a cold front dropping in, which means the winds come up a little bit more on Sunday. But we'll talk about some of those details here shortly. It looks like the Euro model, for the most part, in the morning is showing possible westerly land breezing coming across as land cools overnight, but mainly just a very, very light. We're talking just a couple knots, maybe middle single digits in the morning, even with the Euro. If we look at the GFS, go back to winds here, go back to 48 hours on the winds, and we see this very light start. Even high pressure signature up here along the Grand Strand could mean that we could see a little bit of a northeast flow banking down. A couple of models are showing this very light northeast flow, so that just makes things a little bit more variable and uncertain at this point to be able to make a call to start the race at 9 o'clock in the harbor. As we go a little bit into time, we see that the sea breeze comes up. The GFS is showing this nicely, with a nice little modest breeze showing in the afternoon. This is 2 o'clock p.m. We're seeing upwards of 10 knots, close to it. We could see some low teens break out as long as that synoptic flow stays into place and the sea breeze assist comes up a little bit. Wind directions still calling for south winds, mainly about 180 degrees. We may see a little bit of a south-southeast element to that. If the winds do get up into the low teens, if the sea breeze is a little bit stronger, it tends to push the winds or veer them a little bit more south-southwest. So maybe something to consider if you're going towards 190, or I'd say 190 to 200 degrees possible with this turn of winds, if that does happen. So that can happen a little bit further south. Usually the further south we go, the winds become a little bit more south or south-southeast. So that's my 2 cents worth on the model runs. As we get into, let's go to rain now. Earlier it didn't look like rains were going to really make it in to the area until maybe Sunday night. It looks like Saturday is going to be a beautiful day. Plenty of sun. You may see a few clouds banking up inland in the morning. But as we get into Sunday now, if you're coming back from Rockville, you're going to probably want to get underway a little bit early, because it looks like showers may become a little bit widespread from that prefrontal build dropping down into the Appalachian Mountains. So we'll have to watch for that. This is Sunday afternoon by 2 o'clock p.m. where some of these prefrontal showers and possible storms could break out, where that sea breeze is nudging that moist air inland, and then the ambient air temperatures are warmer. And then by Sunday evening and into the night, we see more widespread rain. Now temperatures, looks very pleasant for temperatures. We're talking upper 70s to maybe even low 80s inland. Now over our cooler shelf waters, it looks like we're probably going to be sticking 61 degrees is the temperature right now from the French Quarter. That's the official spot. So 61 degree sea surface temperatures means that the air temperatures over the water are going to be cooler, probably mid, maybe upper 60s out there. So dress accordingly. If we go to sail flow, let's go ahead and take a look. Zoom in. Now the race will get started out here at G15 by the jetties. That's a good spot. Just motor on out. get to the starting line out here, and then start heading south. And so if we have a south-southeast wind, that's going to be a little bit more helpful for you to get a little bit further down. And so that'll be something to consider, and always consider that south-southwest wind. Inside the harbor, just too uncertain to say if anything's going to happen in the morning. And you know, we could wake up and there be a westerly flow 6 or 7 knots. We just don't know yet. There's too many variables. In fact, if we look at the Fort Sumter Front Range Light and run the models all the way out, I saw a lot of variability earlier. We go to Saturday morning, and early on you can see right here 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 9 a.m. This little slot right here, and you can see the winds, they're not all in agreement. So the NAM has them coming in from the east. The NAM 12 and the NAM 3 both have them coming in from the east, and most other models have from the south. Even the Weather Service model has a little bit of a northeast wedge to it, but very, very light winds. We're talking low single digits here, so that's why it also makes more sense to push that race offshore. But as we get into the afternoon, we see the winds nearing 10 knots. I think a little bit more optimistically with the sea breeze, we could get into the low teens just offshore. And so we're really hoping for that to get from here all the way down into the Rockville area. So maybe with that south-southwest flow rounding this turn into the Rockville area will give you a little nudge towards the very end there. I think that's gonna do it for the winds. We did talk about the sea surface temperatures being cooler. Now we look at the wave modeling, and let me stop it here, because when you leave it in idle, it tends to have a mind of its own. So let's go back. This is Saturday afternoon. This is about 11 o'clock a.m. And it looks like the swell for Saturday is going to be from the east-southeast primary swell, about 1 to 2 feet. And so when you get that modest southerly flow, you may get a little bit of a cross chop. I mentioned that in the last forecast, so be aware of that. And especially since you're going to be going possibly against the wind in some of the angles and some of your tacks, maybe sticking a little bit closer to shore might be a smarter answer. Just watch out for any shallows closer to shore, but you may get a little bit more nudge from the sea breezing over that way. As we go into Sunday, the swell heights do increase. We're looking at probably 2 feet and nearing 3 feet as we get into the afternoon, as that cold front drops down and those winds come up a little bit more Sunday. We're talking more of a south-southwest to southwest flow Sunday, so that should help getting back from Rockville. One thing to consider is if we get some cloud cover that may affect the sea breeze, or what we call contaminate the sea breeze, it may drop the speeds down to near to 10 knots. But otherwise, we could expect low teens from that to have a decent sail back. Just make sure you're watching radar for any rain or any storms that are breaking out, because they will be spilling down slope ahead of that cold front. So we could get some coastal breaching of those rains and showers. So keep that in mind, and I think that's going to do it. I'll be posting this video here in just a few minutes once it uploads to YouTube and onto the CORA site. So be sure to check it out there, and I'll be posting again tomorrow night and Saturday morning with updates, and we'll see what happens there. But for right now, good luck to everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'll be reporting back to you soon. Thank you.